Come, whoever you are welcome here. No matter your age, your size, the color of your eyes, your hair, your skin, you are welcome here. No matter how you came here, if you came alone or with others, you are welcome here. No matter whom you love or how you speak or whatever your abilities, you are welcome here. Whether you come with laughter in your heart or tears in your eyes, you are welcome here. If you come with an open mind, a loving heart, and willing hands, then you are indeed welcome here. Welcome to the First Unitarian Universalist Church of New Orleans, a congregation gathered in love since 1833 to seek wholeness and work for justice in the world. I am Margot, and my pronouns are she and her. If you are a visitor today, we invite you to raise your hand so that we can greet you. Welcome. So welcome. Also, we would like to ensure that everyone in attendance can hear the service in its entirety. So if you're unable to hear any of our speakers, please wave your hand and we will do our best to speak up or move closer to the mic. We are a lay-led congregation. On Sunday mornings, we ask you ministers, other religious professionals, leaders from social justice organizations, and our own members to be voices of hope, courage, and spiritual or intellectual transformation from our pulpit. Our worship leader today is Unitarian Universalist minister Darcy Roake. Woo! Reverend Darcy is a PhD candidate and Center for Ethics Fellow at Tulane University with a focus on the reproductive health and justice movements in the US and France. She has experience working with Oxfam America, Amnesty International, the Navajo Nation Public Defender's Office, Planned Parenthood, and the Foundation for Louisiana's Truth, Racial Healing, and Transformation Advisory Committee, among others. We are delighted to welcome her back to our pulpit today to share her message about how to be somebody in the rule of nobody. After the time for all ages this morning, children are welcome to follow our teachers to the kids' room. If anyone of any age would like some activities, fidgets, or toys to help them be more present with the service, you can find pew packs for different ages at the back of the sanctuary near the main entry door. Please help yourselves and return them after the service. The kids' room set up during Sunday services has guided learning and play around our UU values. It is out the door behind us to the right and around the corner. And if you want to learn more about our religious exploration programming, you can find a member of our RE team during coffee hour. If there are members of the RE team here, would they raise their hands? Oh, great. Lane and Sarah. Awesome. And now, if everyone would please rise in body or spirit as Reverend Darcy leads us in our chalice lighting, and then join in our sung response to follow.
We light this flame in a moment that feels heavy and dark. But darkness, like light, holds all things. So let us light our chalice to better witness that which can only grow in the dark. As scholar Jane Ellen Harrison wrote, "The beginnings of a movement are always dark and half unconscious, characterized rather by a blind unrest and a sense of discomfort than by a clear vision of the means of relief." So let us go forward today not with answers, but with curiosity, not with certainty, but with openness, not with self-righteousness, but with connection. Let our chalice light lead us deeper into the dark.
Rekindle this light in celebration of the life we share. And please remain as you are for our opening hymn, which is number 83 in our gray hymnal, Winds Be Still. be still. Storm clouds pass and silence come. Peace grace this time with harmony. Fly, bird of hope, and shine, light of love, and in calm let all find tranquility. Bird, fly high, lift our gaze toward distant view, help us to sense life's mystery. Fly high and far, and lead us each to see how we move through the winds of eternity. Light shine in, illuminate our inward view, help us to see with clarity. Shine bright and true, so we may join our songs in new sounds that become full symphony. Please be seated. And we'd now like to invite those young and young at heart to join Sarah Pixon up front on the carpet circles for our Time for All Ages.
I'm reading about the rabbit. Listen. Anyone else want to come speak? All right. I need a mic so everyone can hear me. Hello, hello. The rabbit listened. One day, Taylor decided to build something. Something new, something special, something amazing. Taylor was so proud. But then, out of nowhere, things came crashing down. The chicken was the first to notice.
Cluck, cluck, what a shame. I'm so sorry this happened. Let's talk about it, cluck, cluck.
But Taylor didn't feel like talking, so the chicken left. Next came the bear.
Grah, how horrible! I bet you feel so angry. Let's shout about it, grah, rah, rah.
But Taylor didn't feel like shouting, so the bear left. No. Sit. Sit. Thank you. The elephant knew just what to do.
Trump-da, I can fix this. We just need to remember exactly the way things were.
But Taylor didn't feel like remembering, so the elephant also left. One by one, they came. The hyena, hee, let's laugh about it.
Where's the hyena?
The ostrich, gulp, let's hide and pretend nothing happened. The kangaroo, tisk, tisk, what a mess. Let's throw it all away. And the snake, shh, let's go knock down something else.
But Taylor didn't feel like doing anything with anybody. So eventually, they all left until Taylor was alone. In the quiet, Taylor didn't even notice the rabbit, but it moved but it moved closer and closer until Taylor could feel its warm body. Together they sat in silence until Taylor said, "Please stay with me." The rabbit listened. The rabbit listened as Taylor talked. The rabbit listened as Taylor shouted. The rabbit listened as Taylor remembered and laughed. The rabbit listened to Taylor's plans to hide, to throw everything away, to ruin things for someone else. Through it all, the rabbit never left. And when the time was right, the rabbit listened to Taylor's plan to build again. "I can't wait," Taylor said. "It's going to be amazing." And any kids that would like to come with me into the kids' room, you're welcome, or you can stay in here. Come on, bud.
We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time to see ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead
Our prayer today is a poem, Raucous Prayer, by Patrick Rosal. Hear, my one raucous prayer, coaxed from this poor drum, my double heart under a beat-up slat of divine light. Its habit, I evade the foreseeable blessing, this thorn thief, this fiend for deep bass and the dynamics of burning. Now bird, now furnace. I'm returning to love itself. Let me face the beginning of sound, the first horn, origin of dirt and song. We are made by touch, not terror for tat, but one humble pulse in a numb abyss. Bet, God breathes this air. And so, when we talk of music, we also talk about the absence of music. Both of these are important to hold. So please join me now and let us enter into a time of silence, which we will close by singing together, Voice Still and Small. Our reading today is an excerpt from Polish writer Olga Tokarzyk's Nobel Prize acceptance speech. Tenderness is the most modest form of love. It is the kind of love that does not appear in the scriptures or the gospels. No one swears by it, no one cites it. It has no special emblems or symbols, nor does it lead to crime, nor prompt envy. It appears whenever we take a close and careful look at another being, at something that is not our self. Tenderness is spontaneous and disinterested. It goes far beyond empathetic fellow feeling. Instead, it is the conscious, though perhaps slightly melancholy, common sharing of fate. Tenderness is deep emotional concern about another being, its fragility, its unique nature, and its lack of immunity to suffering and the effects of time. Tenderness perceives the bonds that connect us, the similarities and sameness between us. It is a way of looking that shows the world as being alive, living interconnected, cooperating with, and codependent on itself. So lately, maybe like many of you, I've been mulling over what our country means. No big surprise. But how I've been doing it, it surprises me. I'm reading Westerns. Charles Portis's 1968 True Grit, Larry McMurtry's 1984 Lonesome Dove, Stephen Graham Jones' 2025 The Buffalo Hunter. All these books immerse themselves in the Western mythos of brave men, noble women, and dangerous, uncharted lands, only to then, in one way or another, disembowel them. And while we could endlessly sift through the blood and guts of these books, in America, blood is always involved, I want to talk about something fundamental these Westerns tell us about us. These are the stories, primarily, of white men, not always men, but often men, who toward the late 19th century rode out into formidable landscapes with almost impossible tasks to an empty place already peopled by indigenous tribes. There are many things you could say about these men, but this one was certainly true. These men chose isolation. Not solitude, but isolation. From other people, both indigenous and white. From the natural world they both admired and conquered. And finally, tragically, isolation from themselves. Now listen, these are great books with great characters, but I'm worried how we Americans have taken the wrong point from them. We've taken the myth, not the critique. And I'm not the only one. And for some of you who love these books, perhaps your blood is boiling a little bit at me at this point. But listen to the author of Lonesome Dove, Larry McMurtry, in the preface to the 2000 edition of his book. It's hard to go wrong if one writes at length about the Old West, still the phantom leg of the American psyche. I thought I had written about a harsh time and some pretty harsh people, but to the public at large, I had produced something nearer to an idealization instead of a poor man's inferno, filled with violence, faithlessness, and betrayal. I had actually delivered a kind of Gone with the Wind of the West, a turnabout I'll be mulling over for a long, long time. Perhaps it's something we all need to mull over, because we Americans have a gift, or perhaps a curse, of taking a mirror or a book pointed towards our American ugliness, and instead of looking in the mirror, we turn it in another direction. We paint it gold. We're not the only country to do this, but we do it so well. So at the New Orleans Museum of Art, the first thing my kids want to visit is what they call the Gold House. Do y'all know this? So it's actually called America, and it's a full-scale replica of Abraham Lincoln's childhood log cabin coated in shiny gold paint. Step inside. See what's inside this gold cabin, what's built America. The chains of slavery, the bullets of war, the pills of addiction, the iPhones, the candy, the coal, the missiles, on and on, all painted in gold. It's a thing to behold and a thing to beware. A piece by artist Will Ryman that, like McMurtry's book, speaks to our founding myth, our golden American blood. Perhaps it's no coincidence that our current president's favorite color is gold. From his Trump Tower's toilet to the newly installed drapes in the Oval Office. Gold to reflect and gold to deflect. Say what you will, but that man is as American as Abraham Lincoln. He's just another version of America, at its most ostentatious, hollow, and yes, isolated. With every Truth Social tweet, pay-to-play Mar-a-Lago dinner, international embargo. But worse than what he does is what he seems to cause us to do to each other. How quickly corporations, universities, and institutions have bowed to this false golden god, slashing diversity and equity to ensure their coffers are filled, prioritizing their personal comfort over the safety of all community members, denying basic scientific facts. And we've turned on each other with seemingly so little regret, because all this isn't our fault. It's just an impersonal policy change, denying medical coverage, overlooking first-generation college students, letting masked officers take our neighbors. Nobody who's complying takes responsibility, because despite all these directives, we are in the rule of nobody right now. The essence of totalitarian government, and perhaps the nature of every bureaucracy, is to make functionaries and mere cogs in the administrative machinery out of men, and thus to dehumanize them. Hannah Arendt wrote that in 1963 at the trial of one of the chief architects of the Holocaust, Adolf Eichmann. Arendt wrote lots of things that were hard truths. She did not gild her view of humanity, but truth need not be golden to be true. Now listen to these words Arendt wrote about Eichmann. The longer one listened to him, the more obvious it became that his inability to speak was closely connected with an inability to think, namely to think from the standpoint of somebody else. No communication was possible with him, not because he lied, but because he was surrounded by the most reliable of all safeguards against the words and the presence of others, and hence against reality as such. Eichmann himself had fallen prey to what Hannah Arendt called holes of oblivion, a deliberate disconnect from reality. Deliberate, because reality might threaten an unjust and cruel power structure through kindness and empathy. Because reality might show that many people across race, class, and gender want shared community, stability, and a life of which one can be proud, not to make their country submit to all its whims. I don't know about you, but with all these holes of oblivion today, or what we might call alternative facts, I sometimes feel like Will Ferrell's character in the classic movie Zoolander, like I'm taking crazy pills. Because in addition to the corporatized impersonal rule of nobody, I just can't see where the supposed American values of truth, liberty, and justice for all are right now. Or where values of love and compassion for the poor and marginalized, for example, are in many of our pulpits. As if I'm the outlier, I'm the problem. Because for those of us who do care, who try to push past the holes of oblivion, we start to feel like we're the problem. And that can be lonely and exhausting It's exhausting to witness casual cruelty from our leaders. It's exhausting to be afraid of guns and hate speech. It's exhausting to think some people just don't care. This exhaustion carries an isolation all its own. And that's the point, isn't it? It's to make us feel fear and isolation, to make us scared of each other, so that we retreat from each other, and ultimately, we retreat from our own moral centers. But wait. Before you start weeping and tearing your garments, something that I want to do when I look at the news most days, look around you. Look. You're not alone. Look up here. I'm only afraid a good quarter of the time. And in the streets, look out there. There are people every day caring for each other, not complying in ways big and small. People standing in solidarity against masked ICE officers from the suburbs of Rochester, New York to downtown Los Angeles. Citizens and non-citizens filing hundreds of lawsuits, which, by the way, they've been winning. In New Orleans, our nurses have been tirelessly fighting for their and their patients' rights at LCMC, despite threats and harassment. First-time politicians who want to make positive change are running for city council and assessor positions. This afternoon, I'm going to visit a collective where my 11-year-old has gone to free art classes and a trans liberation punk show. Hannah Arendt did not paint a golden historical picture, nor gild humanity, but her clear-eyed vision can help us together remain in this reality as faithful, ethical people. As she wrote, "Under conditions of terror, most people will comply, but some people will not." We are those some people. We must continue to be those some people. Just because it's not front-page news doesn't mean that the some aren't shifting things, moving our American bloodstream to, I don't know, a pumping heart or an anxious but empathetic brain. The writer and activist James Baldwin once wrote, "You have to go the way your blood beats. If you don't live the only life you have, you won't live some other life. You won't live any life at all." As a Black gay intellectual in 20th century America, his choice to go the way his blood beat was to choose what might initially seem a harder path, full of obstacles and vitriol from the small-minded and the hard-hearted. But how lucky are we that Baldwin chose to go the way his blood beat, to choose life and freedom of the soul over an anesthetizing compliance of the body, to give us his pain, his joy, his challenge, his love, his brilliance on that page. As Unitarian Universalists, we are called to value the inherent worth and dignity of every person, and we must include ourselves in that principle. When we hurt, when we want to give up, when we're scared, we must remember ourselves and the way that our blood beats, what we're called toward as a faithful people, because so many of us chose this faith for a reason, to live in and fight for a world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. We are all somebody, alive and feeling, and we are living under the deadening rule of nobody. Despite its hardships, what a gift to be somebody, to be alive, to resist, to love, to hurt, and to keep moving toward that sliver of horizon called hope and change. And what a torture and sadness to be a cog in the rule of nobody, to dull your senses to the world, to reject love and fellow feeling. Paint it as gold as you want. Cruelty, as real as it is now, is also a vapor that does not hold. And to further resist this vapor of cruelty, we must look again to our faithful principles. Respect for the interdependent web of all existence. The straightest path to this principle is barked by the tender love that Polish author and activist Olga Tokarczuk describes in our reading today. The disinterested recognition of our conscious, though perhaps slightly melancholy, common sharing of fate, where the world and all the beings in it, even the ones we deplore, is living, interconnected, cooperating with, and codependent on itself. To remain somebody, to resist the rule of nobody, we must proclaim our tenderness. We must fight for the shared survival of all beings, even the beings who wish to hurt us. And it's hard. So here's my example. Forward USA's Charlie Kirk spouted hate speech that ran contrary to all that we believe as UUs. But my disinterested tenderness means I recognize that Charlie Kirk was a victim of gun violence, just as Gabby Giffords was, just as the children of Newtown were, just as New Orleanians enjoying a second line have been. My tenderness calls me to end gun violence for all, not just those that I deem worthy. And my blood beats to push back on an administration that is scapegoating liberals instead of passing sane gun legislation that could save countless lives. Now at this point, you may be thinking, if you've read anything about what the service was supposed to be, it says in the order of service she was going to talk about vampires. I've heard a lot about blood, but not a drop about vampires. Let me end then back where we began, with one final and very different Western tale, fit for the year of our Lord 2025, The Buffalo Hunter Hunter. Written by Stephen Graham Jones, a member of the Blackfeet Nation who counts Larry McMurtry of Lonesome Dove as a favorite author. Graham Jones' tale not only disembowels, but subverts the Western myth. The primary narrator is a 19th century Blackfeet warrior. He encounters human monsters of the West, American soldiers massacring unarmed Blackfeet, buffalo hunters running the species out of existence, hypocritical pastors with sins of their own, only to become a literal monster himself, a vampire. But it is the kind of vampire that this non-American becomes that reveals something about the American myth of the West. This vampire, much to his own horror and consternation, cannot help but stay connected to his people. He is not the unfeeling, aristocratic, isolated vampire of the European and now American sort in his Transylvanian castle or St. Charles Avenue mansion. No, he's all feeling and tragedy and cruelty and connection, with blood literally bursting from his body. He cannot physically turn away from his people, much as he might want to, nor his history, nor himself. Yet eventually, he finds a way to hold it all, to not keep the monster at bay as much as make it one part of his larger connected whole. So perhaps in our aliveness, we might try to be a little more like this undead warrior. to take our monstrous, unwieldy American body and recognize it in its entirety, in its kindness and its cruelty, when we are at our best, and in this moment, when we are at our worst. To know who we are. We're not gold, but we're not nobody. To love our communities and to feel a disinterested tenderness for all, so that this interconnected world can survive. So this has not been a golden sermon to distract or pacify you. This has been a sermon of blood and life. A sermon for those of us who refuse to dull ourselves and comply. For stubborn Unitarian Universalists who go the way our blood beats and hold the tender challenge to be accountable in our interdependent web. This has been a sermon for the somebodies under the rule of nobody. You are not alone. Amen.
Thank you so much, Reverend Darcy. And now we remember that generosity is one of our shared UU values with which we cultivate a spirit of gratitude and hope. Generosity is a spiritual discipline that connects us to one another in relationships of interdependence and mutuality. We can practice our art of giving either by placing an offering in the collection plate or by using the information in your order of service on the back to give electronically. Gifts to this community of faith are gratefully received. Let us acknowledge these gifts by reading together the words in your order of worship. This gift from the abundance of my life blesses me, our ministries, and the world. Giving in the offering plate and pledging are part of how we steward this congregation, but there are countless other ways to serve, build community, share our love with each other and the rest of the city. Here are a few opportunities coming up. Lane and Noel, if you don't mind raising your hands, are our ABD chairs this coming fall and are making a call for canvassers. And they would like to point out that one of the best parts about church is getting to know the other members of the church in a little more personal way, and being a canvasser is a great way to do that. So there'll be an official sign-up in coming weeks, but please see either of them if you might be willing to volunteer for this. We also, as is I'm sure obvious, that would like to note that choir has started for this fall, and we are welcoming new members. So if you enjoy singing and would like to join us, you can talk with Dwayne, our music director, who, by the way, has been with us, I think, for exactly 1 year today. Is that right? Woo! And you can talk with him after the service to get on our group chat. And you're also welcome to just come to a practice. We meet at 9 a.m. each Sunday morning to get ready for service. And I will now ask I will now ask Jody to come forward for a spotlight announcement.
Good morning, friends. This is the last reminder we will be giving you about Together New Orleans Citywide Assembly coming up this Thursday, September 18th at 6:30 at Xavier's Convocation Center. This is not going to be like a debate or a forum or anything you've probably ever attended before with candidates for public office. We're going to be hosting the major mayoral candidates and the major candidates for city council. But we have developed what we're calling the People's Platform. We started it from the small house meetings we held here in the last couple of years, and all of our other institutions did the same, and we gave that input as to what are the most pressing things on our mind. And we came to the general consensus that our city's in crisis, and this is why it's really important for us to act now. So what we did was we took all of those issues, we looked at them, and we chose major categories like cost of living, jobs, public works, all of our broken streets and potholes that take 355 days to fix, all that kind of stuff. And we did some research and came up with some proposed solutions for each of those. This assembly is so that we can present our platform to the candidates and give each of them an opportunity to respond as to whether they will help us work on this together. We're also going to ask them to make a commitment to us to meet quarterly with us after this. And this is another major part of this assembly, is it's an invitation to all of us to figure out that we have a role to play in holding these people accountable once they get elected. So we're not just holding a one-time event. We're hoping that you can learn about what the platform is, more about what it is, and that you will see yourself in it, that it reflects things that we raised up, but also learning that after the election, we all have work to do together to hold these folks accountable, and we can do it. So I hope you'll join us. Two important things. We're asking everybody from FUNO to wear a white shirt, because we're asking all of our delegations to wear the same color shirt. We picked white this time just because it's easy. And the second thing is you can't bring any purses or handbags or backpacks into the Xavier Convocation Center. You can only bring plastic bags. So put your things in a clear Ziploc bag or some kind of clear bag so you don't get stuck at the door and have to go back to your car and put your stuff up, okay? Mary Ellen and I will be available after if you haven't registered yet. I think we have about 15 people registered, and we're so grateful. And also, you don't have to live in Orleans Parish to participate in this. Even though you may live outside of Orleans Parish like I do, I still drive the streets. My car still gets destroyed by the potholes. I still experience some of the major issues that take place in the city. So I think it's important to all of us to come and hear about this, learn about this, and decide how we're going to participate going forward in holding people accountable. Okay? Thanks.
Thank you, Jody. And if anyone is sitting here wanting to know how to register, right on the back of your order of worship, you can just hold your phone up to that little QR code and register today. I mean, you can only bring clear bags. That's got to be a pretty exciting event. I'm pretty pumped now. And so if you would all please stand in body or spirit now and join in our chalice extinguishing, which is in your order of worship. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. And please remain as you are for our closing hymn. I'm sorry about the misprint. It's actually number 1028 in your teal hymnal, The Fire of Commitment. From the light of days remembered burns a beacon bright and clear, guiding hands and hearts and spirits into faith set free from fear. When the fire of commitment meets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. From the stories of our living rings a song both brave and free, calling pilgrims still to witness to the life of liberty. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and souls ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and the future can begin. From the dreams of youthful vision comes a new prophetic voice, which demands a deeper justice built by our courageous choice. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin.
May your blood, may all our blood beat toward tenderness, toward community, toward raucousness and joy and anger and pain and aliveness. May we go in peace and sacred unrest, knowing that together we are somebody. Amen.
Amen. Oh, sorry, please join us for coffee out in the front after the service.
And together we will join in coffee. Sorry, I forgot about that one. And please join and greet each other.